We have several people in the audience and hopefully a few more people watching us on Electric City Television. The invocation tonight will be given by Councilmember Matt Harvey in respect to the flag will be led by Council John Roberts. Please rise.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, thank you for letting us live in a country that we can still have discussions with different views, all while wanting the best for our citizens. I pray for our city, our state, our country, and our world during this pandemic that you would heal our land. I pray for our frontline city staff, our police and fire that run to emergencies for our citizens and to protect them. I pray for our management team, our council, and other members of our city family that you keep us safe and healthy. And also, I pray for our citizens that you would keep each one of them healthy and safe. In your name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The minutes of our June 22nd meeting and also the July 1st meeting have been distributed. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes?
Make a motion that they be approved as presented.
Both sets.
Both sets of minutes be approved as presented.
We have a first by Mayor Pro Tem, second by Mr. Lockridge. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those minutes of July the 22nd and July the 1st pass unanimously. We don't have any, well, we have 8 items of old business, 1 item of new business, and we'll go directly to the old business. And our first item of old business is request second reading of ordinance 20-17, amending the 2019-2020 annual budget. Ms. McEwen.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Again, this is second reading of amendment to the budget to true up our revenue to expenses as adjusted throughout the year. Ms. Martin Martin, our finance director in the city, will present the details of this item this morning.
Okay, so we are requesting approval of ordinance 20-17 to amend our 2019-2020 annual budget. We are requesting approval of the general fund, $488,160, and the transit fund budget of $62,394. The City Council, you adopted the original budget back in June of 2019, and we are requesting an amendment. We are requesting amendment to reflect the changes that you have implemented since that date. Things where you have approved expenditures of uses of unrestricted fund balance for financial decisions that you made after the original budget was approved. Now, these amendments are not approving the day-to-day operations, but true things where you approved at council increasing software costs, etc. The ordinance is attached with the 8 detailed items. I'll be happy to review each item with you if you would like. This is second reading. You gave for approval or first reading on June 22nd.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Any questions, comments?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the second reading as presented. Second.
We have a first by Mr. Chapman, second by Mr. Newton. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously on the second final reading.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next item, old business, is request consideration of an ordinance to rezone 304 East Highland Avenue from RM10 multifamily residential to LO limited office. Ms. McEwen.
Mayor and Council, A2 through A8 will all be planned development items that rolled over from the Planning Commission meeting. Mr. Jeff Gilbo from Planning Development Division will be presenting those items individually to you. Mr. Gilbo.
Thank you. The applicant is seeking to rezone the subject property in order to offer an day spot. The limited office district allows low-intensity commercial uses that are compatible with the neighboring residential environment, and the day spot fits into the zoning classification. Current use of the property is a single-family dwelling. She will continue to live in this house as well and operate the business from this dwelling. Surrounding zoning along East Highland Avenue includes both RM10 multifamily and LO limited office. The planning commission did consider this request at their July 7th meeting and recommended approval. If rezoned, all applicable building codes and parking guidelines must be met. Happy to answer any questions you have for staff.
Thank you, sir. Questions, comments?
Mr. Mayor, this property is in my council seat, and I haven't had any phone calls or anything in opposition with this rezoning, and therefore I'd like to make a motion that we approve this ordinance on first reading.
First by the Mayor Pro Tem. Second by Dr. Thompson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes unanimously. Thank you. Our next item of old business is request consideration of an ordinance to rezone 1310 East River Street from GC General Commercial to HI Heavy Industrial. Mr. Jubal.
The applicant is seeking to rezone the subject property in order to operate an automotive repair business along with towing and a storage yard for vehicles. Although the current zoning allows an automotive service station as a conditional use, the guidelines require that operations involving repairs, bodywork, painting, salvage, or storage of automotive vehicles must be conducted within a fully enclosed building. In addition, the outdoor storage of junk, scrap, and other wrecked vehicles is prohibited. The applicant has expressed the need to store such vehicles in the vacant area of the property. In order to conduct a business with this type of automotive storage, it must be rezoned to heavy industrial. There is no heavy industrial zoning in the general area, so it will be considered a spot zone. The planning commission did consider this request at their July 7th meeting and recommended denial. Since East River Street is a major corridor into the city, and because the uses in the area are predominantly commercial and residential, the HI heavy industrial land use does not fit this district.
Mayor, I would like to add a couple additional comments to that.
Go right ahead.
As you can remember, the area nested out on East River Street going south, was the next 1, 2, 3, but it's 3 total parcels there, was recently conveyed to the city. That's gonna be a beautification area for the city. We have plans also for, potential new bus shelters right there as well on that property. We have a lot of people that use the system in that area, but, a beautification spot is part of the city that's adjacent to that property.
Thank you.
What do you mean by that? Beautification?
So right now, there's just several old building foundations on the property, so we'll completely remove those, add the bus shelter, trees, landscaping, and make it a really nice green buffer zone for that area.
Good question. Any other questions, comments?
Well, Mr. Mayor, this property is in my council district, and I have spoken with many residents in the neighborhood. They do not want, they expressed opposition of having a towage storage facility across the street from their homes on East River Street. And again, East River Street is a major corridor coming into the city of Anderson, and I just don't think it would be a good fit in that location. And with that, I'd like to make a motion that we deny this zoning request.
We have a first by the Mayor Pro Tem, second by Mr. Newton. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Our next item, item A4, is request consideration of an ordinance to rezone 500 Blakely Street from RM10 multifamily residential to neighborhood commercial. Mr. Giabotti, still up.
The applicant is seeking to rezone the subject property in order to operate a car wash and detailing business on the site. On the parcel is a commercial style building, but the zoning currently does not allow for commercial uses. Previously, this building occupied a non-conforming hair salon. In further discussion, since this was raised, the applicant is also looking to fix up the building and maybe put a small restaurant in there as well for neighborhood use. The proposed neighborhood commercial zoning allows for a variety of residential, office, and lower intensity retail uses. The zoning is the lowest level of commercial zoning that allows a car wash and would also allow a proposed restaurant use as well. The planning commission did consider this request at their July 7th meeting and recommended approval.
Thank you. Any calls on this?
I have not received any. Can I ask a question? Have you received any?
No, sir.
No.
Well, no.
Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Is this the, location of the new hot dog facility that's right there on Blakely Street that's already opened up? So it is already open as a restaurant?
Well, but on Saturday, we was, have like a hot dog sale, a grill, a hot dog sale, like a local, softball team. So, sometimes when I'm watching cars, like the JV girls coach, but like the parade team, they're like, you wanna, sell hot dogs, and that's what we did on Saturday.
Yeah, I knew, I had some residents go over there, I think they've given out green t-shirts that said the name of your new hot dog business that's opened up on Blakely Street.
Yes, sir, we gave out, shirts, free shirts.
Right, right.
Yes, sir.
So it is already in operation.
No, sir, we had a grill in the back, and we was, serving hot dogs.
Any other questions?
This is yours or mine?
It's yours,
That's what I was thinking.
yeah.
Dr. Thompson?
We've talked about that, haven't we? That young man who's in the audience? Yes,
You talked to Dr. Thompson about it.
Yes, I did.
yes, we've talked about that, and of course, I referred him to the planning committee, and we talked about it again. And as long as this is gonna be something that's gonna be, you know, something that's good for our neighborhood, I think, and you promised me that. So with that, I would make a motion that we approve this, on this first reading, second reading.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Mr. Lockridge, first by Dr. Thompson. Further discussion? You have something to say, sir?
Yes, sir, I did, what about, remodel the building and make it into like a, walk up slash, walk, sliding window, where men and women they can walk up and, get food and leave.
Come
No
on.
dining.
We're gonna refer you back to these guys. Okay, next step. But yeah, I mean, talk to them about your plans
Yes, sir.
and they've gotta make sure that you're in the right lane there. So, yeah. Good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. Our fifth item of old business is request consideration of an ordinance to annex and zone 1.78 acres generally located at Southwood Street and Crescent Drive, the RM10 multifamily residential, and to rezone an abutting 3.2 acres parcel from R5 single-family residential to RM10 multifamily residential. Mr. Giabola.
The applicant is seeking to rezone property that is currently inside the city and to annex additional property in order to construct a 40-unit townhouse development. The RM10 multifamily residential district allows for up to 10 units per acre for townhouses. So this classification permits the number of units that are proposed. The site has multiple street frontages and is in close proximity to property zone R5 single family, RM10 multifamily, and neighborhood commercial. Conceptual plan has been created and was attached with your staff report. Final site drawings will be reviewed by staff if rezoned. We've been told that this is a for-sale townhouse project with lots to be created. So we need to go through the preliminary plat and design process with city staff and the planning commission at that point.
The applicant here? No?
I do not.
Applicant? Okay, great. Any questions, comments?
I will say, Mayor, I recently walked this property, and, it's just a wooded area, with, some people kind of coming and going, there's some littering taking place there, so I believe this might be a nice crew.
Sounds like. Mr. Roberts, Jeff Roberts?
Yeah, I've rode by this area twice already, and I think it would be a good addition to the city. I do have one concern, and it has nothing to do with this property, but there's a piece that fronts Sayre Street that's just an absolute mess. And I think you know what I'm talking about.
I believe that, probably a little hole right there that's outside the city.
I understand, but what can we do with maybe partnering with the county to have some sort of enforcement there? That looks like a junkyard.
We can certainly talk to you about that.
You know, if we're looking at bringing this into the city, which I'm in favor of, I think we need to reach out, maybe make that up. So with that, I'll move that we annex and zone this parcel.
First by Mr. Jeff Roberts, second by Mr. Matt Harvey. Further discussion?
I have one.
Yes, sir.
The plat that you presented to us, it shows kind of, are they gonna have like parking underneath the units? Because it doesn't show any parking other than the street. Are they doing on?
Should be on-street parking. This is very preliminary, obviously. But we have talked to them about our requirements for minimum of 2 off-street parking spaces, plus they should have some other guest parking identified on the side as well. So they will have to present full engineering plans, and we'll know more at that time. This is the preliminary drawing for right now.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed?
I don't oppose, but request a comment.
Go ahead.
Comment, when the final plat, design, it'll come back before us.
It will not, this will be a preliminary plat that goes to the planning commission for approval and then just gets finalized with staff.
Just like, I know as any subdivision layouts, I know Councilman Roberts and Chapman has always made some questions about, if it's the street parking or the cars coming out on the street, for driveways, and also, like, there's some dead end, I guess, roads out where fire trucks can turn around and radiuses, and just want to make sure all those things are addressed, since it doesn't come back to us to review finally, so I was just looking at that. I just didn't see how the fire trucks would turn around on one of these areas here up by the detention pond.
Right. We would address that all through the engineering process, but we can try to get a better drawing from the applicant prior to second reading.
All right, thank you.
Our next item is A6, which is request consideration of an ordinance to rezone 796 and 798 Wilson Street from R15 Single Family Residential to RM18 Multifamily Residential. Mr. Gilbo.
Anderson University is seeking to rezone the single-family dwellings that are in their ownership in order to better utilize them for university-related uses. The requested zoning of RM18 multifamily residential will allow them more flexibility and is also consistent with the majority of their campus. Currently, the university houses 4 students in each of the dwellings, which is permitted under the city's single-family zoning guidelines. Their current plans are to increase the number of students in each dwelling, possibly adding 2 additional people in one house and 4 more in another house. Because the houses are controlled by the university, they intend to limit the number of vehicles to 2 per house and not allow on-street parking. The remaining vehicles will be parked elsewhere in a designated campus parking lot. They are also exploring the possibility of configuring additional parking spaces behind the houses that will meet the city's parking lot specifications. The planning commission did consider this request at their July 7th meeting and recommended approval. If rezoned, any building code items due to the increase in occupancy must be met.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Yes, sir. Ms. Lockridge.
I talked to Maurice earlier this week, and he said that you were going to talk to Anderson University concerning the possibility of having more parking there. Have you heard anything from him directly?
Yes, they, I believe, are going to do that. It's just a matter of coming up with a site plan, getting draw plans up and all of that. But they are here tonight as well to address that specifically.
Okay.
Does anybody from AU want to talk about that?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Omar Rashad from Anderson University. I work with administration and branding. This is the culmination or the result of the master plan that we did. We worked with, initially with the Boudreaux Group, which is a group that the city referred us to about 5 years ago, and then we did a subsequent master plan with Credo, which was to look at all of our property. And in sharing that with the city, their recommendation was to go ahead and change the zoning on these properties to RM18 so that it's consistent for the entire campus and consistent with other university campuses as well. Regarding the parking question, that's been front of mind for us. We made changes this past year. Actually, I lived at 798 with my family and 4 kids for 2.5 years. And during that time, we partnered with the city and with DOT to change the parking restrictions on the street, so no on-street parking is permitted, and we do ticket and enforce that for our students. And the neighbors have told us that they are deeply appreciative and that they've seen a marked improvement in the safety and the kind of the passability of that street. So regarding the homes, what we would do, as Mr. Gilbo mentioned, is we would limit to 2 cars in the driveways. No cars are permitted on the street. And then we would add, we've actually, following last week's planning commission meeting, we've already begun work on getting some pricing at parking to the rear of 798 that has a larger plat of land behind it that would permit additional parking. And so again, our top priority is to be a good neighbor, and when the students are parking on our property, then we're empowered to enforce and expect them to live up to the expectations and the standards of the university, and then what the city and the neighbors would want. So, did that sufficiently answer your question?
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Jeff Roberts?
This property does reside in my district seat, and I want to share with you some of the neighbors' concerns. And I met with one of them today, actually walked the property, and I've had contact with several neighbors in that area. Their concerns are parking, the increased traffic, declining property values. I'm not validating any of these, I'm expressing what their concerns are. These are small, narrow streets. There's a continuous back and forth of gators and utility vehicles. And some find it hard to see when they're backing out of their garages. So basically, you're taking what are now 2 single-family residential homes and making them into dormitories. So they're valid to them, okay? And I would like to express my appreciation for y'all addressing the parking. That was one of my first issues. So get what you can behind those. I think you can get behind both of them. And even if you created a circle drive encompassing both of them, that's just my opinion. I'm not going to tell you how to design your parking. But get what you can, okay? And the no parking on the street, that was another concern. And that was going to be one of my recommendations. And I would like to get with the planning, perhaps, to specifically locate a no parking sign. I think this would go a long way in appeasing one of the neighbors. And the other is just simply enforcing that traffic through that 4-way intersection. That's an enforcement issue, both on AU and on us. But they found that to be dangerous. So I am in favor of this. I'm a conditional yes, as long as we can take care of these things. So with that, I would recommend that we rezone these 2 parcels.
We have a motion on the floor, first by Mr. Jeff Roberts.
Oh, I'll second him with the same.
Second, Mr. John Roberts. We're in discussion.
As well.
Mayor?
Mr. Chapman?
I just have one question regarding the adjacent property that would, I guess, be to the left, if you're facing the house. Does that property, is that gonna require screening for that neighbor, landscape screening, because we're changing the zoning?
Typically, we would not require it in a case like this unless there was new construction involved.
So-
If they add a parking lot, then that could trigger some additional landscaping. But only in the area of new construction. And so along the house side, typically, we would not require them. But in the back where they put the parking lot in, we would require that to meet landscaping guidelines of that area.
Okay, and my follow-up to that is the intent for if they're gonna do parking in the rear, is that literally you're gonna build a true parking lot? So it would be maintaining the landscape requirements for that as well? Right. Okay.
And
Thank
there
you.
is a privacy fence in the rear of the space that we're talking about, the parking.
Okay.
It doesn't.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. Our next item of old business is request consideration of an ordinance to rezone 209 through 217 Williamston Road from RM10 multifamily residential to RM18 multifamily residential. Mr. Gilbo.
The Anderson University wishes to rezone the subject properties that are currently in use as the Stringer Commons residence halls. Although the current zoning of RM10 does allow the existing residence halls, the university wishes to change it to RM18 and in order to develop a more consistent zoning pattern for the campus property. So there's no change, no plan changes for the property, it's just a change in zoning to make it consistent with the rest of their property.
Thank you, sir.
The planning commission considered this request and recommended approval.
Any questions, comments?
Mayor, I make a motion to approve.
First by Mr. Harvin,
Second.
second by Dr. Thompson. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? That passes unanimously. The last item of old business is request consideration of a ordinance to rezone approximately 4.27 acres at 328 Kingsley Road from R15 single family residential to RM18 multifamily residential. Mr. Gibble.
Anderson University is seeking to rezone this property in order to operate their campus ministries program out of the house. A single-family dwelling is located on the site, which will be converted to an office and university space to meet their needs. The RM18 multifamily residential zoning is requested, again, because it would allow uses associated with colleges and universities and is their predominant zoning classification. The property abuts other RM18 zone property owned by Anderson University. Other abutting properties are zoned R15 single family. So any changes to the site must adhere to the city's landscaping and screening guidelines. The planning commission did consider this request at their July 7th meeting and recommended approval. And if rezoned, all building codes and site review requirements must be met.
Thank you, sir. Questions, comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Chapman?
this property resides in the district I serve, and I received no opposition or disfavor, and I think it's a good use because it's connected to the properties of the university, correct? Adjacent to it, to the left of it. And so there's only one property left on Kingsley, I guess, that the university does not own. So with that, I'd make a motion we accept it as presented.
Second.
First by Mr. Chapman, second by Mr. Lockridge. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We pass unanimously. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, AU, Omar. Appreciate it. Thank you for what you do. We'll move on to our one item of new business, and that is request consideration to purchase 2 buses for the transit department. Ms. McEwen?
Mayor and Council, this is good news here that we did receive some additional federal funds for our transit system from the FTA as part of the CARES Act. Keith Scott, our Director of Transit, is here to present this item to you for the acquisition of 2 buses. Mr. Scott.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. The City Transit Department requests approval to purchase 2 new transit buses. 1 compressed natural gas bus, 35-foot low floor, and 1 diesel bus, 32-foot low floor, for regular service routes. The total cost of these buses is $848,647. Federal Transit Administration CARES Act grant funds will pay 100% of the cost of the buses. There will be no local cost to the city. And the FTA CARES Act grant funds have been approved and are available for use. So we are requesting approval to purchase these buses. Any questions you have, I'll be glad to answer.
Thank you, sir. It's always good news when we get 100%. Mr. Jeff Roberts.
I was curious, why not both compressed natural gas buses?
We found that our longer routes, the routes where we get to increase our speeds a little bit more, the diesel buses are a little more efficient, get a little better gas mileage on those particular routes than the CNG buses. And we really wanted to concentrate our compressed natural gas buses in our more dense areas instead of being in the wide open spaces a little bit more. It seemed kind of be a contradictory of what we were trying to do. But the diesel buses are a little more efficient and effective in the longer runs where they do get to increase their miles per hour a little better.
Okay, I understand, thank you.
Ms. Chapman?
I'd just like to say, appreciate what you do for the citizens of the city, because, it was, this past week, I had a 4-year anniversary of the bus that was named after my mother, who rode the bus for 40 years. and that was her sole way of getting around town. So with that, I make a motion that we gladly accept this for.
We have a first by Mr. Chapman, a second by Mr. John Roberts. Mr. Lockridge?
I have a question. It's very similar to what Councilman Roberts said. You were talking about the gas mileage, and I was wondering, you have the natural gas buses for a period of time. How does it compare in a situation like downtown to the gas buses, to the regular gas buses, or to the diesel buses? In a situation like heavily populated?
Yeah, on the downtown area where we average probably about 28, 29 miles per hour, we're very close on mileage. It could be 1 to a half a mile per hour, of gas mileage difference. So a lot of your CNG buses now, that the engines are being designed for natural gas instead of being a diesel engine converted over for natural gas. This has made these engines a lot more effective for fuel mileage, especially in the lower mile per hour areas. When you get a little bit more out and the miles per hour gets up, then you can see a little variation to where the diesel buses will get a little better gas mileage.
Well, we're very proud of getting them.
Yes.
I love to get these new buses. It helps the community so very much. I mean, these folks, there's a lot of people, like Don's mother, that don't drive or for some other reason, has some other reason they don't pull the car out. So it's a good thing for the community. So I'm all for this.
Yes. We've got 2 new buses that have already been ordered that will be coming in. One will be coming in this month. We've had a little bit of delay, as you're well aware of the COVID situation, some of the shutdowns in California based on a lot of the issues with it. So I believe it comes off the line at the end of next week. Take about a week to ship out. So we'll have it before the end of the month. And then we'll have our second bus in November. And both of those are natural gas. So that will make us, we'll have 5 after this one. This will be 4 that's coming in. So we'll have 4 by the end of this year. And then there'll be the 5th one. Right now, I think the line on ordering buses is about a year and a half. So, and it's good because us being able to get that money, we're able to replace our buses timely. And as the buses start going out of their life expectancy and reach their mileage, we're replacing them right at that time and keeping our buses as up to date as possible.
Well, we appreciate it.
Yep.
And I just got one additional comment for since we're talking about CNG, if you could speak to the emissions and the environmental friendliness of CNG buses versus diesel.
Yeah, the CNG buses are really considered low emissions buses. So the CO2 that's put out by the CNG buses are little to none compared to what the diesels put out. So in dense areas, your carbon footprint and your CO2 that's put out in the air is greatly reduced, and it causes, or it does not cause any additional problems for folks in our areas that already have maybe breathing conditions and things like that. It really helps to clear the air where our buses run in those areas and reduces that footprint.
Those old diesels really put out.
And a lot of the newer diesels, I mean, they're cleaner than they used to be, but still, you still have a lot of the particulates and things like that from the diesel, from the oils and things like that that are still getting put out in
Dr. Thomas?
the neighborhood.
First of all, thank you for getting the new buses,
Yes, ma'am.
particularly at no cost to the city. I wanted to ask, with the virus, have you noticed an increase in ridership, and how are you handling the social distances on the buses there?
Well, in the beginning, when a lot of this hit, we saw that we wanted to make everything as distancing for our drivers and our operators as we possibly could. So we wanted to stop a lot of the hand-to-hand passing back and forth from our drivers and the passengers. So we went with a free fare operation for about a week. And when we did that, made an announcement down at the transfer point, it's like everybody picked up their phone and called everybody they knew and told them that all the buses were free. So the day after that, the buses were packed. So it kind of backfired just a little bit, so now we were having a lot more people get on the buses than were, even though we weren't passing anything back and forth. The social distancing part of it was just, it couldn't happen. We had as many as 40 people on one bus at one time. So we went back after discussions and went back to charge just the 50-cent fare and quarter fare. That reduced it back a little bit. We have caution taped off the seats that are directly behind the drivers so that nobody's sitting up on top of the driver right on top of them. We're encouraging wearing masks. We're encouraging the social distancing. We have the social distancing signs in our bus shelters. So we're doing everything we can. We have actually started passing out masks to the folks on our buses that do not have them. They are welcomingly wearing them. So we don't see any people that are just blatantly not wearing them. So I think we're doing a lot of what we can. We're also going to be adding barriers on the buses that are kind of a Lexan barrier between the driver and the passengers, where it provides some more protection for our drivers and things like that. So we're doing a lot of things to really make a lot of that work. We're seeing ridership creep back up because of things are opening back up. Things are getting a little more back to normal, even though I know our numbers and things are going up. Things are open. So when they're open, everybody's out and going again. So we do see the numbers creeping back up, but if we see it get too much, we'll control it as best we can.
You don't have any behavior problems, do you, on the bus?
Well, you always have a few here or there, but nothing more than we can. So we take care of it. Our police department has been very good to us. When we have to call them, they're quick to come. So, but we do have some things from time to time, but that's normal.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Keith, I don't know how you could, I guess, quantify this, but I've gotten here in the last several months a lot of phone calls just asking, is there any way that we could possibly expand the bus hours to maybe an hour later? Because, a lot of people don't get off at 6 o'clock or 6:30 and the bus has stopped running. And then also for those people who do work till 5 or 5:30, well, they're depending on that transportation to get home. But now, come the weekend, they need to go grocery shopping, and they don't have no way to get to the Walmart or wherever they may go grocery shopping. And maybe, what is the possibility, if it's financially feasible, to run like a 7 to 12 o'clock, just Saturday to help get these people to the grocery store, because they don't have any other modes of transportation. And, I just told them we'll try to, do a survey to see what those numbers are. I'm sure it's not all routes. I think it's just certain routes of people that need to get home, or the buses stop running when they get off work, or grocery stores. And just want to see if we can get some, numbers to see if it's even feasible or not.
Well, as you know, Councilman Stewart, we have operated for a number of years based on the dollars that the city has available to operate. So based on the funding that we get, the 5 days a week, 12 hours a day is pretty much the limit that dollar figure goes to. We are always interested in entertaining the possibility of increasing our hours or increasing our days, because again, our system, in my opinion, has run that way for a long time, and we know that change is always things that you have to look at, revamping or re-looking at your system to make it better, more efficient, all those types of things. We're always interested in looking at that, but really from a dollar figure, we would probably have to discuss that with the ones a little bit higher than me to see what funds may be available to increase any of that. You're usually looking at about $80 an hour, to increase any kind of time.
I know we partner with the county, I think they help fund, maybe that may be an alternative, and you do such a good job of getting all these grant funds, maybe there's some FTA grant funds that could help, so, see if there's any out there for that, so, and bring us in some more of that money.
Well, I think there are grant funds available for those types of things. Usually, they're not 100%. Most grants do require a local match, to some degree.
You kinda-
We are certainly glad to look at that and entertain.
At least they give us something to consider.
Sure, absolutely.
And I was just gonna say, while I had you up here, you know, you're connected to the 10-county region in regards to that strategy, transportation. Could you speak a little bit about maybe the struggle that other transit systems are having?
Yes.
Or opportunities or things that they're doing? Go ahead.
Part of 10 at the top, which are the 10 counties that along Interstate 85 in the upstate, created a group called Connecting Our Future, which really dealt with the transportation issue in the upstate. You have several transportation and transit systems in the upstate. You have GreenLink in Greenville. You have Sparta with the city of Spartanburg, Spartanburg County that operates with the hospital system in Spartanburg County. You have Electric City Transit here, and you also have CatBus, which operates out of Clemson. And what we have been doing is working with the communities all across the upstate in looking at opportunities to close some of the gaps of where there are no transportation, where no transportation is available, and working with some of the systems, especially around the Greenville area right now. I think they've got a lot of changes that are going to be coming along there. A lot of that due to what our organization and our group has been doing. We're working with, like I say, with the GreenLink folks, City of Greenville and Greenville County about doing some things there. We're also working with our rural communities and seeing what possibilities are there to provide some transportation for folks that need to get to jobs, get to the grocery store, and get to doctor's appointments and things like that. So this organization has been very rapidly talking with folks and trying to increase the opportunity for transportation for folks who don't have any.
I appreciate you sharing that. We had a first and a second. Good discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Keith. Having no other business, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Real quick, Mayor.
Mr. Harvin, then the Mayor Pro Tem.
I know everybody wants to get out of here, but I just want to take a quick second to thank David and Andrew and staff. I was only able to make a couple of the distribution positions for Anderson Falls, the way that, you know, they hit the ground running and got, you know, masks, 10,000 masks in a week is pretty strong, I think. You know, a third of our population. Where we need to go from now, I don't know, but I'll continue to, you know, with that energy moving forward. And please pass it on my appreciation to the rest of the staff who took the initiative and made it happen. Things like that just don't happen. You know, you have to plan and make it happen. So I'd just like to take a minute to appreciate that.
Great.
Thank you, Mr. Harvin and council, I appreciate that. I just want to say that, it's because you have a team of professionals that's very passionate about the community. And when they're passionate about the community and they're adaptable, anything can be done. So, when we thought that, hey, let's try to get 11,000 masks, thought that was kind of a crazy idea, and we literally got them in 2 days. And so, but that's because of the team of professionals we have. Thank you for the comment. I'll pass it along, so.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, I like, you know, just kind of echo what Councilman Harvin said, you know, big thank you for all you do and your team and city staff. But I would also just like to ask that, you know, I don't know whether you can do it 2 weeks or whether the pleasure of this council is, but maybe from what we've heard tonight, you know, from ANMED, from Anderson County, and with the DHEC numbers, maybe bring something back before this council, to reconsider an ordinance that maybe like Greenwood had passed, or maybe, what they've done in Louisiana, which was a state, I think, ordered initiative there. But, I think we as elected officials, we owe it to our first responders. We always praise our firefighters and our police officers. Those are first responders. The hospital people are our first responders as well. And I think we owe it to them to take a very hard look at what we can do to keep them safe, because we've always made it a priority of this council to make sure our first responders are safe. And even though they may not be city employees, our AMED staff are first responders. And I think we owe it to them to do what we need to do to kind of keep this community safe. And if you'd like to explore that, get something back out to us to take a look at. And I'm in favor for another emergency meeting if we need to have it, if not, have it in 2 weeks, you know, but just like to ask you to explore that, if that so suits the rest of this council.
Yeah, if that's the pleasure of council, I can email you out, couple different ordinances. Draft ordinances, a couple different variations.
Sure, and I would also echo on the Mayor Pro Tem. I mean, we all have relationships with our local delegation, I think, and even with our State House. And I think as locally leaders, we need to exercise that conversation with our local leaders. I think when states like Louisiana make tough decisions and make the whole state, I think that's, and keeping people safe, that's more impactful for not only our community, but for the whole state. Mr. Lockridge just reminded me that we do have an election tomorrow. I'm glad I'm not in it, but polls open tomorrow from 7 to 7, and good luck to my fellow council members who are up for election. Who's running? Not me and you. Mr. Lockridge, Ms. Stewart, Mr. Roberts, Ms. Chapman, 4 of the 5. I entertain a motion to adjourn. Have a double right here. I'll take Mr. Roberts, John Roberts, Mr. Lockridge. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?